Well, joining me now is historian Daniel Britton and the writer and broadcaster, Jenny Cleeman. TalkTV's political editor, Kate McCann. I've kept you here because I'm very interested in all the politics of all this, because I'm trying to think, has any incoming Prime Minister ever had to go through what Liz Truss has had to go through? Never mind what's happened in the last 24 hours. Inheriting this gigantic financial mess, a war in Europe raging away, a pandemic that isn't over yet, all these massive problems to deal with, huge energy policy that she's due to announce yesterday, and then the Queen dies, the single biggest news event she may ever have to deal with. Yeah. How's she doing, do you think?
And it's happening 2 days in, not even, with a brand new team, and ministers, some of whom haven't even been sworn into the positions that she's given them. I think her speech in the Commons today was a real moment, and you could feel actually the weight of it on her shoulders. You could see it, couldn't you, watching Liz Truss trying to deliver the right words, because so often politicians and leaders of state are the ones that guide the rest of us through grief at times like this. I mean, Tony Blair is a shining example of that. And they can create a real moment. I think what's unfortunate for Liz Truss is that she had Boris Johnson standing a few rows back, and he gave such a fantastic and warm and funny speech.
Well, let's take a little look at some of the Boris Johnson, because I thought he was brilliant too today. I thought he perfectly encapsulated what I was feeling. Here's a bit of Boris Johnson in the Commons today.
A few months ago, the BBC came to see me to talk about Her Majesty the Queen, and we sat down and the cameras started rolling, and they requested that I should talk about her in the past tense. And I'm afraid I simply choked up and I couldn't go on. I'm really not easily moved to tears. But I was so overcome with sadness that I had to ask them to go away. But I think our shock is keener today because we are coming to understand in her death the full magnitude of what she did for us all. And think of what we asked that 25-year-old woman all those years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I thought, listen, I'm not Boris's biggest fan by any margin, but he is a good orator, and I thought that was a great 8 minutes that he gave today. But again, it could be a problem for Liz Truss that he's so good. You know, Theresa May made a good speech, actually. We got a clip of Theresa May doing a very funny line about dropping some cheese in front of the Queen. Let's take it. I think we're going to get that clip. So you've got these two... Here we are. Here's the Theresa May clip.
Of course, for those of us who had the honour to serve as one of her Prime Ministers, those meetings were more frequent with the weekly audiences. These were not meetings with a high and mighty monarch, but a conversation with a woman of experience and knowledge and immense wisdom. They were also the one meeting I went to which I knew would not be briefed out to the media. I remember one picnic at Balmoral which was taking place in one of the bothes on the estate. The hampers came from the castle and we all mucked in to put the food and drink out on the table. I picked up some cheese, put it on a plate and was transferring it to the table. The cheese fell on the floor. I had a split-second decision to make. I picked up the cheese, put it on the plate and put it on the table. And I turned round to see that my every move had been watched very carefully by Her Majesty the Queen. I looked at her, she looked at me, and she just smiled. And the cheese remained on the table.
Do you know what? I never understood why Theresa May gets 140,000 quid a speech. Donald Trump once, when I told him this, said to me, I'd pay her 140 grand not to speak. But that was funny.
It was really funny.
It was a funny story. So it was very warm in the Commons today and some amazing tributes. But Boris was very strong. Theresa May was surprisingly good. If you're Liz Truss, this is, you know, not helping, probably having the ghost of Christmas past, having everyone rolling in the aisles and moving them. And yet, there is something about Liz Truss's conduct, the way she goes about things, which after all the chaos of Boris, after all the buffoonery and everything else, I don't know, there's something reassuringly sort of normal about her, actually, I think.
Yeah, and I think for her today, the job she had to do, she could never deliver a cheese anecdote, even though she is fond of doing exactly that. And she could never really do what Boris Johnson did because she is the Prime Minister. She assumes a different type of office. But I think for Liz Truss, the next couple of days are all about, exactly as you say, being calm and steady and normal.
Yes.
And we saw that in her first Prime Minister's questions.
Yeah, I agree. I think so far, I've got to say, given the pressure she's under, given the scale of the challenges facing her, given this earthquake that's gone off with the Queen dying, I think she's doing a pretty solid job. Now, whether she can deliver on the economy and the other things remains to be seen. But as a statesman, she's growing up fast here. What do you think? You're not impressed?
I don't agree, I have to say.
Really?
I felt the speech she gave outside Downing Street was full of cliches, you know, saying that she was the best of the best of British. And especially, I think she, you know, when so many heads of state and leaders were putting out fantastic speeches, Justin Trudeau's speech, Emmanuel Macron's speech, which had sort of real passion and meaning, I felt like, goodness, I hope that she can hire some better people to write her speeches. She does come across as sincere, which is a good thing, especially after Boris Johnson, who was anything but. Here's someone who was all style and no substance. But I think she is very much the other way. She could do with some help, I would say.
Daniel, you're a parliamentary historian. You're a former Queen's Christmas broadcast producer. So
Indeed.
You've been all over the Queen's speeches before. Let's talk about Charles's speech. Because I felt this was a seminal moment for his reign, right off the top. What did you make of it?
I thought it was a great speech. It was beautifully written, apart from anything else. It was beautifully written and a beautiful finish to it, beautiful start. It hit upon a number of key points that are really important for the country during his reign. The constitutional issues, the issues that are very close to his own heart, his own pursuits, the devotion to his mother, and his promise to serve the people of Britain. And it was brilliantly delivered, neat and concise, beautifully written speech, and hit so many good, important
Are there a
points.
few little coded messages here? For example, he devoted quite a lot of time to talking about William and used a lot of titles that William is going to be inheriting. He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall, takes on the responsibility. Let's listen to what he said about this.
As my heir, William now assumes the Scottish titles which have meant so much to me. He succeeds me as Duke of Cornwall. With Catherine beside him, our new Prince and Princess of Wales will, I know, continue to inspire and lead our national conversations, helping to bring the marginal to the centre ground, where vital help can be given. I want also to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas.
I mean, it was pretty clear to me. One, littering the titles, and Harry and Meghan just get a very quick cursory name check with no titles, which might be a little indication of where his thinking is about whether they should have any titles.
He has got a lot of Scottish titles. Duke of Rothesay, Lord of the Isles,
I know he's got them.
and Great Steward of Scotland.
He's got
so
them.
there are a number of Scottish titles.
He's got them, but he didn't give any titles here.